holding a common 1-cent piece, a coin so ordinary that billions have passed through pocket after pocket over decades, only to find that this unassuming penny might be one of the rarest and most coveted pieces in the entire world of numismatics. This is the extraordinary story of a coin that most people never think twice about, yet hidden among ordinary circulation coins are versions so unusual that they are highly prized by collectors. The history of the Liberty 1 penny from 1983 in the United States, a pocket-sized treasure whose market value today can be dramatically different from its face value because of errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, transitional planchet characteristics and other fascinating minting quirks that make particular specimens so valuable. In the world of coins, a penny is often thought of as the lowest form of currency. In 1908 it was already a long-established part of everyday commerce, yet unbeknownst to many people at the time, a seemingly mundane transition in minting materials was about to create rare examples that today can command astonishing sums. Most people will never find one of these rare coins, but for coin collectors, metal detector enthusiasts, currency investors and history enthusiasts, the 1983 penny is a history rich with intrigue, value, anomalies, and lessons about how small production quirks can create phenomena that resonate in markets decades later. To appreciate why a coin worth 1 cent at face value may be worth vastly more today, it is important to understand the context in which the 1983 penny was produced. The Lincoln cent has been minted in the United States since 1909. First designed to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. For most of the 20th century, the coin was composed primarily of copper, specifically a blend of about 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition gave the coin a distinct reddish appearance and a density that collectors would come to recognize as the standard for decades. The design featured Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and various designs on the reverse over different periods, with the Lincoln Memorial appearing on the reverse from 1959 onward. By the early 1980s, however, rising metal per coin increasingly expensive. The United States Mint made a strategic decision to change the composition of the penny to reduce costs. In 1982, the transition from primarily copper pennies to coins with a core of zinc plated with a thin layer of copper was officially implemented. This change meant that most pennies produced after mid-1982 were fundamentally different internally than earlier pennies. A typical copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while the new zinc-based pennies weighed approximately 2.5 grams. The new zinc-based pennies looked almost identical on the outside to the traditional copper pieces, but their internal composition and weight were different. Because the mint had vast inventories of copper planchets left over from previous years, some of those older planchets continued to be used temporarily during the transition period. This overlap created a unique situation where coins struck in 1983 with the New Year's date were sometimes mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets meant for the older composition. These coins are referred to by collectors as transitional planchet errors. They should not have existed, yet they do. For the ordinary collector or casual coin holder, most 1983 pennies found in circulation today are simply the standard zinc-based Lincoln cents that were produced in the big coins are essentially worth 1 cent each in everyday commerce, though extremely well-preserved examples may be in pristine uncirculated condition. But the extraordinary versions, the coins struck on the old copper planchets, or those that exhibit die doubling, off-center strikes, mint mark anomalies, or other distinctive errors are where the real value lies. These rare coins can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on the exact nature and severity of the error or anomaly. The most famous and sought-after variant of the 1983 penny is the transitional copper penny. Because the U.S. Mint had begun using zinc planchets, the use of leftover copper planchets was not part of the intended production plan. For that reason, truly authentic 1983 copper pennies are exceedingly rare, and only a handful are confirmed by reputable grading services. These coins have the look and weight consistent with older copper pennies but bear the 1983 date, which should theoretically only appear on zinc-based planchets at that time. The typical weight of a genuine copper planchet Lincoln cent is approximately 3.11 grams, and this weight difference is one of the primary tests collectors use to screen for a potential valuable transitional penny. Genuine copper 1983 pennies are worth far more than their face value, often commanding high prices at auction or private sale because they represent an unexpected artifact of a transitional period in U.S. minting history. Not all coins with higher weight are guaranteed to be valuable transitional coins, but when a coin with the correct weight also copper piece under magnification and professional evaluation, it can be graded and certified by a trusted coin grading service. It enhances market confidence and typically increases the value significantly. It is not uncommon for genuine transitional pennies to trade hands for sums in the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, which is a dramatic contrast to the penny's face value of 1 cent. Aside from transitional copper example create value for the 1983 penny. One such error is the double die. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin has an imperfect impression, effectively stamping the design twice in slightly different positions. This results in certain elements of the coin such as the date, lettering, or design features appearing to have a doubled or shadowed effect. Double die errors can occur on the obverse front or reverse back of the coin. The severity of the doubling effect, the areas where doubling appears, and whether the coin is in circulated or uncirculated condition all affect the market value. A pronounced double die error on the obverse of a 1983 penny can be worth hundreds or even over $1,000, particularly when authenticated and graded by a reputable service. If the coin blank is not perfectly aligned when struck by the die, part of the design may be missing or shifted. Off-center coins can vary from minor misalignments to dramatic examples where only a fraction of the design is visible. The rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. A very slight off-center strike may only be worth a small premium over face value, but a dramatic misalignment can attract significant collector interest and correspondingly higher prices, sometimes in the hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the degree. Mint mark errors also contribute to the potential value of a coin. In 1983, the Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint struck coins with a D mint mark. Errors can occur when a mint mark is missing from a coin that should have one, or when an extra mint mark appears. These mint mark anomalies are relatively rare, and their market value varies widely based on authenticity, condition, and how obvious the error. In addition to these more common error types, there are unusual planchet errors where the coin is struck on a blank that has not been properly prepared. It's where the copper plating that should coat a zinc core is absent or incomplete. In some cases, planchets intended for other denominations or countries have accidentally been struck, producing coins with surfaces or metals that look dramatically different from normal pennies. These anomalies are fascinating to above face value. The 1983 penny's value in circulation is thus a wide spectrum. Most coins are common and worth face value. A well-preserved uncirculated standard 1983 penny might be worth a few cents or a few dollars at most to collectors who prize high-grade examples from every year. The values begin to rise significantly. Minor double die examples might be worth a few $100s. Mid-grade off-center examples command varying premiums. Rare mint mark or planchet errors can be worth thousands. The truly rare transitional copper pennies have been documented selling for multiple thousands of dollars, placing them in a completely different value category from everyday pennies. Collectors seeking to evaluate the worth of specific 1983 pennies often turn to auction records and grading databases to understand recent sale prices. Auction results help establish market demand and price ranges for specific error types, grade levels, and mint mark variations. For example, when a genuine transitional copper penny appears at public auction, the bidding can escalate quickly, with collectors recognizing the rarity and historical significance of owning a coin that defies the standard production narrative. Coins that are professionally graded to be in excellent condition with clear, authentic error characteristics typically earn the highest prices. Professional grading services use a system that assesses the coin's condition on a scale, often from poor to mint state. Mint state grades above a certain level are considered uncirculated and reflect coins that have never been used in everyday commerce, retaining their original luster. A 1983 penny with error characteristics that is also in mint state can be, for example, an uncirculated transitional copper penny with strong eye appeal, correct weight and certification from a grading service can be a trophy. It is important for collectors to exercise caution when evaluating potential error coins. Counterfeits and altered coins can appear in online marketplaces and private sales, and not all coins described as error because of the high premiums associated. And professional grading are essential for buyers and sellers to have confidence in their transactions. Collectors often purchase coins through reputable dealers, coin shows, or directly from grading service auctions to minimize the risk of acquiring misrepresented pieces. The 1983 penny story also illustrates how market forces influence numismatic value. While most coins have only face value, collector demands, and the thrill of discovery drive values higher. These market forces reflect human fascination in the unexpected. A humble penny can become a captivating artifact when the conditions of its production give rise to unusual characteristics. Many collectors recall stories of finding valuable coins in specifically, or just the thrill of potentially finding a gem in everyday change. The 1983 penny continues to fascinate. While the face value of 1 cent seems trivial, the market value of certain error types reflects how rarity, condition, historical context, and collector demand transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. In everyday use, a 1983 penny remains worth 1 cent. But in circulation, among coin jars and loose change, there remains the possibility, slim though it may be, that a valuable variant lies unnoticed. Enthusiasts continue to weigh, examine, authenticate, and collect these coins, preserving the legacy of a seemingly simple penny that holds a much deeper history about minting transitions, human error, and the remarkable journey from everyday currency to collectible treasure. The 1983 penny, therefore, stands as a testament to how coins are not facts of history, technology, and human curiosity. For those who explore beyond face value, the journey from 1 cent to potential treasure is a journey into the heart of numismatic fascination. Imagine you find an everyday penny in your pocket that looks like any other coin you've seen thousands of times. You turn it over, glance briefly at the portrait of a monarch, and almost toss it back into search of just ordinary change at all. What if this humble 1 penny piece dated 1988 bearing the likeness of Queen Elizabeth II could be worth far more than the single unit of currency stamped on its surface? What if mistakes during minting, rare production quirks, or unexpected prized collectible that can command many times its face value on the numismatic market? This is the history of the 1988 1 penny coin struck for circulation in the United Kingdom, a coin so common in daily life that most people overlook it, but under the surface, under certain rare circumstances, it can be far more valuable than its face value suggests. 1 penny coin was issued by the Royal Mint as part of the British decimal coinage that had been in wide circulation since the 1970s. Unlike coins in some countries that feature different heads depending on location or era, this penny carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on its obverse, a design reflecting her status as monarch and defender of the faith. The reverse side of the coin features the iconic crowned portcullis design adapted from the badge of King Henry VII, a symbol closely associated with the Palace of Westminster. The Latin legend on the obverse reads Elizabeth II DG Reg FD 1988, which translates to Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen and Defender of the Faith, followed by the date. The composition of the coin is bronze, a traditional metal for pennies of this era, and the coin weighs approximately 3.56 grams with a diameter of roughly 20.30 millimeters. It has a plain smooth edge with no milled inscriptions. The total mintage for this year was large, with hundreds of millions of pieces struck for circulation to meet everyday commercial needs, making the 1988 penny a very common date in the broader series. In normal circulation, most surviving 1988 pennies are only worth their face value. Because so many were produced, billions upon billions have circulated through commerce, stored in jars, lined up in cash registers, and passed from hand to hand over decades. On the open market, typical circulated examples in average condition are generally valued at only a few pennies or cents, sometimes rising to modest fractions above face value when well preserved. In many cases, collectors will place ordinary circulated 1988 pennies at a value that might range from a few pence to a few dollars based on condition and eye appeal alone, but without rare traits these coins do not command significant premiums. However, the market for coins is driven not by face value but by collector demand, rarity, age, historical context, and uniqueness. Even a coin that seems circumstances become noteworthy and valuable. In the case of the 1988 1 penny, the basic issue may be common and abundant, but there are possible anomalies and error types that when genuinely verified can elevate the value of a specific coin far above its original worth. Unlike some mythic claims on the internet suggesting millions of dollars for simple pennies with no clear error, real numismatic value is grounded in documented market activity, genuine production variations, and authenticated mistakes that are verified by professional graders and experts. One area where market value diverges from face value is in uncirculated condition. A 1988 penny that has never been used in commerce, retaining its original luster and striking details without wear, can be graded by professional services and sold at a modest premium compared with everyday circulated examples. In collector circles, coins graded high on the Sheldon scale for condition such as mint state MS grades above 60 can fetch prices from a few pounds to several tens of pounds depending on the quality. While these values are not astronomical, they reflect condition premiums collectors are willing to pay for coins in prime, original condition. Aside from condition premiums, error coins, production anomalies, and rare varieties are where real value can diverge dramatically from the face value of 1 penny. Error coins occur when something goes unexpectedly wrong during the coin production process at the mint. Since minting involves many stages from rolling the metal into blanks to striking designs with high-pressure dies, there are many ways an error can occur, and each type of error has its own collectible appeal. Errors are collectible because they represent unique deviations from standard production, and if certain errors are rare enough, they become highly desirable among specialist collectors who seek these variations. One well-documented error type for 1988 pennies is the faulty planchet error. A planchet is the blank piece of metal that is struck to become a coin. In normal production, planchets are precisely cut to the correct weight and composition, but sometimes a planchet may be defective, have impurities, be uneven, or contain material flaws. If a defective planchet is struck, the resulting coin can show unusual surface features, deformed edges, or irregular images. For example, some 1988 pennies have been noted where the planchet was underweight compared with specifications, causing distortions in the design and anomalies in thickness or edge quality. These coins may show jagged edges, metal flow into voids where material is missing, and other irregular features that signal a genuine minting error rather than post-mint damage. Some collectors will pay a premium for these coins because they are uncommon relative to the ordinary population of perfectly struck pennies. Another type of error that can appear on pennies is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet is not perfectly centered in the coin press when it is struck, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. The degree of off-centering affects how valuable the resulting coin is. Slight off-center errors may only be worth small premiums, whereas dramatic off-center strikes where large portions of the coin design are missing can be much more desirable. Coins struck significantly off-center are visually striking and collectible because they clearly deviate from a normal design, and some examples can sell for multiple times their face value even if they remain affectionately common coins otherwise. Die cracks and cuds are other minting anomalies that can increase value. Dies are the hardened metal tools used to strike coins with repeated use. They can develop fractures. These fractures appear on coins as raised lines or unexpected blank areas where a piece of the die broke away before striking. Coins with notable die cracks or cuds appeal to collectors who specialize in die error varieties because they tell a story about how production machines wear and fail over time. The more pronounced and dramatic these features are, generally the more collectible the coin becomes, causing values to rise above ordinary examples. Some collectors focus on anomalies in the text or lettering, such as small errors in how the letters of the coin's inscriptions are struck. While most pennies are struck with precision, occasionally a die may be slightly damaged or misaligned, leading to doubled letters, misformed letters, or other oddities. These variations are part of the broader error coin category and are collected because they reflect rare deviations that occurred during production. It's important to note that while there are many theoretical possibilities for errors that can add value to a 1988 penny, not all error coins are worth large sums, and not all anomalies are rare. The Royal Mint produced hundreds of millions of standard 1988 pennies, so common minor errors that appear frequently will not be particularly valuable. Value in the numismatic market comes from rarity relative to demand. If a specific error occurs in only a handful of known examples, collectors will place a higher premium on those coins. If thousands of coins show the same error, the value may be only modestly above face value. Collectors and graders study these factors closely to determine what makes a specific coin valuable. Professional coin grading services play a critical role in the market value of error coins. These independent organizations examine coins, verify their authenticity, assess their condition, and assign grades that help buyers and sellers have confidence in what they are trading. Auction or private sale than an uncertified coin of uncertain quality. Amateur assessments and online speculation should be approached cautiously because real numismatic value is documented sales records and expert evaluation. Despite various online videos and anecdotes that might claim certain 1988 pennies are worth millions, there is no historical record of standard 1988 1-penny coins from the United Kingdom selling for such extreme values under legitimate auction conditions. Most 1988 pennies without significant errors remain worth their face value or modest premiums, and even error examples generally sell for sums that reflect their relative rarity and collector demand rather than sensational figures. Another aspect of numismatic value is the historical and cultural context of the coin. The 1988 penny represents a period in British decimal coinage when the Machin portrait of Queen Elizabeth II was widely used, and the bronze penny was still circulating vigorously. While most of these coins are common, the sheer quantity struck in 1988 makes it part of everyday life for a generation of people who use them in common or passing them along in small change. This ubiquity means that most coins from that year are recognizable and familiar, which can make them that much more exciting for collectors and enthusiasts. The history of the 1988 1-penny coin's market value illustrates the broader principle of numismatics. Face value is only the starting point. The nominal value stamped on the coin is just the beginning of a much richer narrative that includes minting history, production anomalies, collector demand, market behavior, and human fascination with rarity and uniqueness. Ordinary coins may seem insignificant, but for those who take the time to examine them with care and understanding, even a common penny can hold the potential for surprising numismatic interest. In general circulation, a typical 1988 penny remains worth 1 unit of British currency. But in a collector's world defined by condition, error variety, rarity, and authenticated provenance, a specific coin from that year can have value far beyond its face value. Whether it is a pristine uncirculated example coveted by collectors, or a rare error coin with unusual striking defects, the way people perceive and assign value to coins transforms what was once everyday change into a subject of historical intrigue and market interest. For collectors, the thrill of discovering an unusual coin in a jar of everyday change is part of what keeps numismatics alive. Each coin tells a history of how it was struck, how it was handled, and how it fits into a larger historical and economic context. The 1988 1-penny, while common in ordinary circulation, offers glimpses of that deeper story when examined closely, and in rare instances its value can move far beyond the simple penny it once was. If you want, I can also provide a detailed checklist of error types with examples that collectors look for, or a comparison with similar coins from adjacent years to show how 1988 stands out among them. Now once again imagine that same penny could be one of the rarest and most sought after error coins in modern numismatics, and that in the right circumstances it might be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars or more. What if that humble piece of change dated 2000 and bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II could be a treasure you never realized you had? What if it carries a mistake so rare and unusual that collectors around the world would compete to own it and pay far beyond its 1-cent face value? This is the remarkable history and market valuation story of the 2001 penny coin, a coin that circulates in millions yet hides within ordinary change some of the most intriguing anomalies that drive coin collectors, investors, and treasure hunters to search through jars of pennies in hopes of finding a valuable error or variety. The 2000 penny is part of a long and historied series of 1-cent coins associated with British decimal coinage, striking a familiar cultural presence in everyday life across the United Kingdom and in countries that use similar design motifs. Although the coin's nominal value is just 1 penny, its history, production quirks, and the variety of errors that have appeared on some examples create a fascinating tale of how tiny differences in the minting process can translate into dramatic differences in current market value. Most of these coins remain common and only worth face value when found in circulation, but a very small fraction are valuable beyond imagination for collectors who understand what features to look for and why those features matter. To understand how a coin that normally trades hands for 1 cent can become something much more, it is important to consider both the historical context of the coin and the processes by which coins are manufactured. The 2000 penny was issued as part of a broad circulation series long after the United Kingdom and many other countries transitioned from old monetary systems to decimal currencies. More than a century had passed since the introduction of the Lincoln penny in the United States, and British decimal pennies had become deeply embedded in everyday commerce. In the United Kingdom by 2000, the penny was composed of bronze, with a smooth edge and a diameter and weight that made it familiar in the pocket and purse alike. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, standing as a symbol of continuity and tradition, while the reverse features a design often associated with the portcullis, a classic emblem reflecting aspects of British history and heritage. At its core, the coin is simple, a small piece of metal struck with standard designs, produced in the millions to satisfy the day-to-day needs of cash transactions. But coin production is a complex industrial process involving multiple stages that range from planchet preparation to die engraving to high-speed striking under massive presses. Each of these stages introduces opportunities for variation, imperfection, and error. In ordinary circumstances, the mint strives for uniformity and precision, producing coins that conform closely to specification. But sometimes, errors occur by the public, and many remain rare and confined to collector communities. Yet when the error is significant and genuine, collectors prize these coins, and market values can climb dramatically above face value. One of the most famous varieties for the 2000 penny involves lettering anomalies on the reverse design, particularly differences in the spacing of the letters in the word America. On most 2000 pennies, the word America appears on the reverse in close spacing, with the letter bases. On certain rare examples, however, the spacing between the bottom of the A and the bottom of the M is noticeably wider, leading collectors to refer to these coins as wide AM varieties. The reason these coins are so valuable lies in how they were produced. Proof dies, which were intended for special collector sets and carry a wider spacing, coins intended for general circulation. These circulating error coins were not supposed to exist with proof-style dies. Their rarity compared with the billions of normal 2000 pennies makes them highly collectible. Collectors who specialize in modern pennies pay special attention to the appearance of the letters on the reverse because the spacing difference, though subtle to the untrained eye, is unmistakable under magnification and serves as clear evidence of a minting variety worth investigating. A standard 2000 penny with normal spacing is worth its face value and a few cents or dollars at most in uncirculated condition. A wide AM coin in circulated condition might be worth many times face value, often in the range of dozens to hundreds of dollars, while high-grade uncirculated wide AM examples can be worth even more, commanding premiums that reflect their scarcity and collector demand. Another type of error that can dramatically increase the value of a 2000 penny is the double die obverse error. A double die error occurs not during the coin striking itself but at the die preparation stage. To create a die capable of striking coins, a master hub impresses the coin design onto a blank die multiple times. If the hub and die are misaligned between impressions, the die receives a double image that is slightly offset. Coins subsequently struck from such a double image die show doubling on various elements of the design. On a 2000 penny, the doubling could appear on the date, the letters in Liberty, the motto inscriptions, or details of Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. True double die coins are rare and highly collected because they represent a fundamental flaw in the die itself, imprinting the error onto all coins struck from that die. Collectors differentiate true double die errors from common machine doubling or die deterioration doubling by examining specific features under magnification. True doubling is typically well defined and appears on multiple design elements in a consistent pattern. Machine doubling, by contrast, tends to be flat, shelf-like and not as visually distinct. A genuine double die 2000 penny in average circulated condition can be worth a modest premium above sell for several $100s or more depending on the severity of the doubling and collector interest. Serious numismatists actively hunt for these coins in rolls, jars of change, and dealers' inventories because even a subtle doubling variety can be a prized piece in a modern era coin collection. Beyond double die errors, off-center strikes represent another valuable category of mint mistakes. When a planchet, the blank piece of metal destined to become a coin, is not properly aligned within the coin press, the dies strike it off-center. The result is a coin with part of the design missing or shifted to one side, with the unstruck portion blank or uneven. The degree of off-centering varies widely. Slight off-center strikes might only be worth a few dollars above face value if noticeable, but dramatic extortions of the design are missing or where entire elements are cut off can be major attractions among error collectors. These coins display a visual novelty that casual observers can appreciate without magnification, and their value reflects both their aesthetic intrigue and rarity. Planchet errors also contribute to the value of certain 2000 pennies. Planchets are prepared from metal strips that are rolled to specific thicknesses and added into blanks of precise dimensions. Sometimes a planchet might be defective underweight, oversize, composed of incorrect metal, or missing its proper surface preparation. When such a faulty planchet goes through the strike process, the resulting coin can have unusual surface features, irregular metal flow, voids, or other defects. For example, a planchet that did not receive the proper bronze composition preparation will strike differently, often leaving irregular textures or distorted images. Collectors seek out these planchet error coins because they represent a deviation from normal production and are much rarer than ordinary pennies. In some astonishing cases, 2000 pennies have been found struck on planchets that were intended for completely different denominations, such as dollar coins or state quarters. These coins are dramatically different in size and composition from standard pennies, yet they bear the date and design of the 2000 penny on an incorrect blank. These kinds of errors are extraordinarily rare and generate intense interest when authenticated. For instance, pennies found on larger planchets such as a dollar coin blank are visually staggering and often sell at major premiums at auction because they are among the most dramatic modern minting errors one can find. Broad strike errors also appear in the world of error coins. A broad strike occurs when a coin is struck outside of its collar, causing the metal to spread outward without the usual raised rim that defines the normal coin. A broad strike 2000 penny will appear wider and flatter than typical examples and may lack the defined edges collectors expect. While not as rare as some other error types, broad strikes are still collectible because they deviate significantly from the normal strike and reflect a clear production anomaly. Mint mark errors add yet another layer of intrigue to the 2000 penny history. In the United States, mint marks indicate the mint facility where a coin was struck, such as Philadelphia or Denver. While the 2000 pennies issued for general circulation may not always carry mint marks in the same ways can occur where mint mark punches are misplaced, repunched, missing entirely, or erroneously applied. A misplaced or missing anomaly is genuine and rare. Collectors prize mint mark errors because they often reflect changes or mistakes in the mint's procedural routine that are rare in occurrence. When evaluating a 2000 penny for market value, collectors also consider the coin's condition, often graded on a standard scale that ranges from poor to mint state.